My name is Dr. David Chen. I worked for the Deep Space Communications Array in New Mexico. What I'm about to tell you is why I can never go back there, why I sleep with the lights on, why I check the sky every night looking for something that shouldn't be there. On September 14th, 2024, at 3:47 UTC, our system detected an anomalous signal on frequency 8,470.5 megahertz, a band that's been dead since the Apollo era. The modulation pattern matched nothing in our current databases, but the error correction encoding was unmistakable. It was ours, American, from the 1980s. The signal strength was impossible. Negative 183 decibels per milliwatt. That's stronger than anything we'd expect from beyond the Kuiper belt. Yet the Doppler shift suggested the source was moving at 0.003 C, roughly 900 kilometers per second, in a trajectory that didn't correspond to any known object, natural or artificial. The waveform analysis showed something else, something that made my hands go cold. The carrier wave had harmonic distortions at exactly 432 Hz intervals, a frequency that doesn't occur naturally in cosmic radiation. Someone or something had embedded a pattern into the static itself, a mathematical sequence that repeated every 7.3 seconds. I ran it through our decryption algorithms. It came back as coordinates, dozens of them, all pointing to locations in our solar system that we've been monitoring for decades. I was alone in the monitoring station when I first heard it. Standard protocol says I should have called my supervisor immediately, but something made me hesitate. Maybe it was the static between the words, or the way the voice seemed to push through 40 years of cosmic interference with desperate urgency. Maybe it was the way my equipment began malfunctioning the moment the voice came through. Screen flickering, temperature dropping 3 degrees Celsius in under a minute. The fluorescent lights overhead pulsing in rhythm with the transmission. This is Commander James Kessler, Apollo-Soyuz Test Project Supplementary Mission, November 1983. If anyone receives this, Christ, I don't even know what year it is for you. Listen carefully. We didn't crash. We didn't burn up. We found something. I checked the records. There was no supplementary ASTP mission in 1983. The actual Apollo-Soyuz mission ended in 1975. But the voice, I pulled the archived audio from the real Commander Kessler's ISS interviews, the ones from 2019, 3 years before he died of lung cancer in a Houston hospice. It matched. Every vocal harmonic, every speech pattern, down to the slight rasp in his consonants from years of smoking. But this recording was older, and somehow also newer. The spectrographic analysis showed vocal cord degradation consistent with a man in his 60s, but the confidence in his speech patterns, the absence of the tremor that marked his final interviews, it was like listening to him at multiple ages simultaneously. The transmission continued. I transcribed every word, my hands shaking so badly I had to restart twice. They told us it was a routine satellite deployment. Classified payload. We weren't supposed to look at it, but on day 4, the package activated on its own. It wasn't a satellite, it was a receiver, and it found something at coordinates. He rattled off a string of numbers that made no astronomical sense. There's a structure there, waiting. It's been waiting for thousands of years, maybe longer. The geometry is wrong, the angles don't add up to what they should. 180 degrees becomes 197. Parallel lines meet. Time moves differently inside. I mapped the coordinates. They pointed to a region approximately 2,400 astronomical units from Earth, well beyond Pluto, in a sector that we'd surveyed dozens of times. Nothing there but empty space and the cosmic microwave background. But Kessler's voice continued, and it changed. Aged, like I was hearing him grow older between syllables. We docked with it. I don't know how else to describe what happened. Jenkins went in first. He came back 17 seconds later. His chronometer said 17 seconds, but his hair was white, completely white. He was crying. Said he'd been inside for decades. Said he'd met others, Russians from Salyut missions that never returned, Chinese taikonauts from programs that don't exist yet. He said they were still alive in there, walking corridors that loop back on themselves, rooms that are bigger inside than the structure's exterior dimensions. He kept talking about the smell, said it smelled like ozone and copper and something else, something organic, like the structure was breathing. The recording flickered. For exactly 4.7 seconds, I heard something else underneath Kessler's voice. Multiple voices, dozens, hundreds, all speaking in overlapping languages, all saying the same thing. It's growing. I isolated the audio layers, counted 47 distinct voices, ran them through voice recognition, 12 matches, all astronauts, all officially declared dead in separate accidents spanning 6 decades. But here they were, speaking in unison, their voices layered like a choir from hell. The structure, it's not a ship, it's not a station, it's a map, a 3-dimensional star chart, but the stars are wrong. They're in positions they've never been in, not in the past, not in any future we can predict. And there are markers, coordinates in our solar system. Earth, Mars, Europa, Titan, places where pieces of it are supposed to go, where it's supposed to spread. I should have stopped listening. I should have destroyed the recording. But I didn't. Kessler's voice was old now, elderly, as if he'd aged 40 years in the span of this single transmission. We tried to leave. We've been trying to leave. But every time we undock, we're still inside. The corridors just get longer. I've seen my own corpse twice now in different sections, wearing suits from different eras. Once in a 1960s pressure suit, once in something I don't recognize, with symbols that aren't from any space agency on Earth. I think I'm going to die in here multiple times. I think I already have. The transmission degraded into static for 19 seconds. When it returned, there were screams. Not Kessler's, others. If you're receiving this, check those coordinates. They're already there. The structure's small now, growing. They look like debris, meteorites. You'll classify them as natural. You'll bring them back for study. Don't, for God's sake, don't touch them. They're seeds. And they're patient. They've been crossing the universe for longer than... The signal cut out. I waited 3 hours for it to resume, but the frequency went dead. When I finally checked the logs, I found something that made me vomit into the trash can beside my workstation. The transmission hadn't come from deep space. It came from low Earth orbit, 408 kilometers up, right where the ISS maintains its position. I ran the trajectory calculations backward. The source point moved in a perfect circle, a stable orbit. But there's nothing there. We'd see it. Radar, optical, thermal, we'd see it. Unless it's only there sometimes. Unless it flickers in and out of our reality like a light bulb with a loose connection. I did something I'll regret until the day I die. I accessed the classified satellite imagery for that orbital path. It took me 6 days to hack through the encryption, 6 days of barely sleeping, of seeing Kessler's aged face every time I closed my eyes. 6 days of my apartment growing colder, my electronics malfunctioning, finding my notes rearranged in the morning, even though I lived alone. On the 3rd night, I woke up to find myself standing in my kitchen with no memory of getting there. My laptop opened to a page of coordinates I didn't remember typing, the same coordinates Kessler had broadcast. There was something there, a structure, small, maybe 10 meters across. But the angles were wrong. exactly like Kessler described. The shadows it cast didn't match the sun's position. In fact, the shadows pointed in 4 different directions simultaneously, as if the object existed in multiple spatial orientations at once. And in 3 separate images taken hours apart, I saw the same thing through what looked like a porthole, a face, human, pressing against the glass. It was Commander James Kessler, but he was young, like in the 1983 photos I'd found buried in the archives, and he was old, like in his final interviews. Both versions, simultaneously, overlapping like a double exposure, occupying the same space. I reported everything, showed them the logs, the audio, the coordinates. They listened. They took my evidence, and then they took my security clearance, my position, and gave me a medical discharge for stress-related psychological breakdown. But before they escorted me out, my supervisor pulled me aside. He was pale, shaking. There were dark circles under his eyes that hadn't been there a week ago. His hands trembled as he gripped my arm, and I noticed something that made my stomach drop. His wedding ring was gone, replaced by a pale band of skin. When I asked him about it, he looked confused, said he'd never been married, but I'd met his wife at the office Christmas party. I'd seen the photos on his desk. They were gone now. All of them. Like she'd been edited out of his life. "We've been receiving fragments of that transmission since 1997, he whispered. Different frequencies, different dates, always the same voice, always aging. We think it's looping, broadcasting itself through time. We think whatever Kessler found, it's already here, already spreading. Those coordinates he gave? We've been tracking objects in those locations for 6 years. We classified them as near-Earth objects. Asteroids, 73 of them. 41 have already been captured for mining operations. 12 are in processing facilities right now, being cut open, studied. He pressed something into my hand, a USB drive. This is everything we have, every transmission, every sighting. People have been disappearing, David. Scientists, astronauts, anyone who gets too close to the samples, they just stop existing. Records get erased, photos become blank. It's like reality edits them out. And we keep finding transmissions from crews we can't identify. Photos, suit patches, voices, but none of these people exist in any database. It's like the structure is generating them, or copying them. All of them saying the same thing. Don't open them. Don't bring them inside. They're already here, and it's too late to stop them. I never watched what was on that drive. I buried it in my backyard, 3 feet down, wrapped in lead and concrete. But the hole I dug was already there when I started digging. Fresh earth. The exact dimensions I'd planned. Like I'd already buried it. Or like I was going to bury it again. But every night I dream of corridors that shouldn't exist. Of meeting myself, older, warning me about something I've already done. Something I'm going to do. In the dreams, I'm wearing a pressure suit I don't recognize, walking through passages that twist back on themselves, passing windows that show Earth from angles that shouldn't be possible. And in every window, I see the same thing. More of those structures descending through the atmosphere like seeds, burning bright as they fall, landing in oceans and deserts and cities waiting to be found. And sometimes when the sky is clear, I see it. A faint glimmer in low Earth orbit, visible for just a fraction of a second before it vanishes. Growing, waiting, spreading its seeds across our world while we catalog them, study them, welcome them inside our laboratories and our lives. Commander Kessler is still up there, still broadcasting, still aging and dying and being reborn in that impossible space between seconds. And I think, God help me, I think we're all going to join him soon. The signal came through again last night, same frequency, but this time the voice was mine.